What's up, everybody? Nick Blazer here with another position analysis video. I am excited to share with you a position that came up in the USA UBC finals between Ryan Rebello and Data Nazarian, and it gave Ryan a good sweat on the PR race in that one. So pretty exciting stuff. And maybe some quiz factor will help you find, some other options for plays. But even like what the best play would be in this position is not crystal clear, I guess. So yeah, we'll have fun explaining it. And the main thing I wanted to get into is like, well, how do you find this over the board? I needed to convince myself of what I would do to do this as well. But so think about this 3-1 that you have to play with bar point holding game. Simple stuff, right? Just keep it simple, maybe. We'll see. But real quick, yeah, please do subscribe to the channel if you like all this stuff that I'm making. Really appreciate that a lot. And likes on the videos helps it get out to more people. You can donate to my efforts on my website too if you're interested in doing that. So kind, like all the appreciation I've gotten for the videos and like work on the community that I've been doing. I like that a lot. But yeah, I can also share my upcoming tournaments where I'll be doing commentary. So I'll be doing remote commentary in the first and second week of March. First with the RAC backgammon, the London Open there. So that's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'll be doing all the coverage from my home in Wisconsin. Same thing with Loot Rocky Greece coming up. And then we haven't decided yet if I'll be on site or remote for the Cherry Blossom tournament. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like the remote job that I did with Gibraltar, if you haven't seen it already, went pretty well. And maybe more tournaments are interested in doing that. So I'm excited about that. But okay. Back to position analysis. I'm going to actually share the XG output on this one and not forget that. Let's do that right now. Bam. So maybe oh shoot, we have this on the wrong one. Let me, sorry, I have the wrong XG under analysis here. What we want is this one. All right. We have to adjust this a little bit too. Bear with me one moment. But maybe you were thinking about just playing quiet into 7-3, but there's a trick here. We are actually able to do something a little bit bigger, which will drop onto the screen right here. Oh, look at that slow reveal. How do you guys like that? 18-17, 18-15. While I was commentating this, it more or less just zoomed by without me even noticing. The commentators too didn't really think about it right away. And I guess, players like David Wells mentioned, if you pause to think about this, then it's not so hard to find for maybe more experienced players. But for me, it was still a tough one to convince myself that, I've seen this idea before that we split the anchor. I think I've heard it described as we make sixes for our opponent go from like, we make them their worst number or something like this. I don't know. Maybe it was their best number otherwise. I think there's other scenarios where that's the case. Probably not exactly this one. But yeah, I mean, I'm aware that maybe we can get some better contact by doing this, but it's hard to see exactly why. And one extra deceptive thing about the position that we'll notice in the analysis here is that the best play actually wins less games than just playing 7-3. So that indicates to me that if we ran this at DMP, just playing quiet would be the best play. Interesting stuff to note there too. But so we seem to win more gammons and at the cost of not too many more gammons by playing our play. But so why is this? How could it be possible that we want to volunteer a bunch of shots? I think intuitively when we look at this over the board, we see that our anchor is currently blocking sixes, so our opponent can't get by on double sixes. If they roll like 4-2, 5-1 down the road, things like this, they won't be able to get by with a single checker either. And we're going to get 17 shots on the checker that stays on the midpoint when they're forced to run with the six. So it seems like a great place to be. Why would we want to change this at all? And we can see if the only way that I can think of to get this is very tactically, to go through the numbers and really consider, well, what's going to happen when my opponent does roll the six that I'm rooting for? And so if we think about it that way, we can look at after this, the final position here. Well, now, I mean, originally we were going to get basically 17 shots from the bar point. If you haven't counted that out before, after this play, and you leave a single checker on the midpoint, 17 numbers hit a checker 6 away. That's a combination of 11 direct sixes and 6 other indirects that get there: 4-2, 5-1, 2-2, and 3-3. But so when we go here, we've got to somehow be doing better than that 17. 17's a lot. And a single, like, pure direct shot is only 20 shots. So it's surprising that we could really do, like, consistently enough better to even think about this. But it becomes fairly apparent when we think about some of our, I mean, especially the non-hitting sixes, like 1-6, 2-6, and 4-6. So all of these numbers now, well, 4-6 is going to get away to a single direct. So I guess that actually improves after this play by quite a bit. They're just going to be able to play 2 down. But 1-6 and 2-6, now instead of the 17 numbers, we're going to be set up for a double shot, which is going to be any 3 or 5, which is 20 numbers, and a 2-1 and a 4-1, which is 24 total, and a 1-1 gets there too, 25. So we've increased our shot count by quite a bit on 1-6 and 2-6. So we got those 2 numbers. 4-6, we lose a little. We lose some 6 shots, but we're still ahead overall. So what about the numbers that would hit otherwise? The 3-6 and the 5-6. Well, it doesn't like immediately jump out at me without actually looking at it over the board here. But both of those numbers, if they choose to hit, will be leaving a double shot as well, right? So when we hit a 3 to here and then continue in with the 6, now we're getting 20 numbers from the roof. Same with the 5-6. So we've increased our shot count on those numbers too, even when we get hit, which is fascinating to me. And a good thing to look at there is, like, because of that, I guess it's not even crystal clear that our opponent would choose to hit. I guess it's less numbers and more gammons if they hit and continue. But it's more blots for us to have to deal with. So I don't know. We could end up like losing a lot more gammons that way. We'll take a look at that in a moment too. But maybe the most important thing to notice here too is because of these 2 blots on board, it feels like we've gone through all the 6s. And we can see we gain a little bit to a lot to lose a little bit. And overall, we're gaining for sure on the 6s. Double 6s are a bummer. They escape completely. We lose on that for sure. So that's a whole roll that we're giving up there. But so how do we balance this with the numbers that are going to hit us now that we've left shots, right? What about our 3s and 5s? Well, this is the part that doesn't jump out at me without looking at it as well. But in general, our opponent's likely not even supposed to hit with most of their 3s and 5s. We lose quite a bit with a 5-2 or a 3-2 where they can lift 3 to ace and make a 5-point board. But let's look through this actual final position here too. So after we play to here and our opponent has a 3-1, for example, well, they could hit and cover the ace. But XG with the racing lead and against a perfect board prefers just playing quiet here. So actually on our 3-1, we haven't given anything up. Nothing's really changed. So 3-2 is going to hit and cover, and 5-2 is going to as well. I believe 5-1 also hits and covers on the ace. But then all of our other numbers, like even a 5-3 that could hit twice, does better to just make the 5-point board and let our opponent deal with this and play for the race. So it seemed like we were giving up a whole bunch by volunteering his shots. But really, it's just 6s, 5-2, 3-2, and 5-1, I guess. Though I think, let's look at that again real quick. I think it might not actually be that far off to just, okay, yeah. So on plus it's actually only 39 worse. So we're not even giving up that much equity in the difference between the plays when our opponent chooses to hit with that 5 as well. So a 5-2, I guess they're gaining quite a bit by their quiet play for sure there. So we're giving our opponent quite a bit on 5-2, 3-2, and 6-6. But we're also gaining quite a bit back when our opponent rolls 1-6, 2-6, 3-6, 4-6, 5-6. Or sorry, 1, yeah, not 4-6 as much. But so we can split here. And it's not like a massive decision here. We could see if we look at the original position too, that, it's still on the lower ply. It doesn't mind it too much. It's nearly a blunder to play 7-3. But I guess the equity equation, weighs out there. This would still be a tough one for me tactically to balance over the board, because there's pros and cons. And sometimes we get into this where the strategic idea of just blocking the anchor isn't the most salient point. And we really have to get into how everything plays because of the 2 blots behind in board. That's a key feature of this position. But immediately after this, I'll share the video link in the description too, so you can actually see these plays come up. But immediately after this, Ryan gets presented with an even more fun. So he plays in, his opponent rolls an ace-6 to come into the 6 point, and now we have a 2-1 to play, where we'd have to break our board to not split. And XG here, again, likes volunteering shots. So what's going on differently at this one? We'll show a couple of the top plays. I think he might have played 6-4 and 3-2 or something like this, maybe 6-5, 3-1. But now it's massive. And we have to go through the rolls to see. This one is not a trade-off situation anymore. This turns out, if you look through the rolls and go through it, to be just pure upside. If our opponent rolls double 6s, I guess we gain. Double 5s is pretty good for our opponent as well. But the big ones now is our opponent's trying to bring the single checker home. And so if they roll something like 1-1, 2-1, or 3-1, they're not going to be able to get by, and they're going to give up a double shot now, where they were going to be able to reduce shots and probably leave only 12 numbers, or 13 in some cases, or 14, I guess, 12 to 14, when they don't get by. So there's huge gain on those. But when we look at our 5s and 6s that would like hit and continue, well, our opponent's like well ahead in the race now, and we've destroyed our board. We're probably losing to a recube either way, which, by the way, I think this is actually over here now in this particular game. We'll see if this changes it quite a bit. But so, like, I guess the recube can't claim it, but more or less, the recube would be claiming the game. You know, if we made one of these weaker ones and our opponent gets by. So what I'm looking at here is, what about something like our 6-2 and 5-2 that hit and covered? Well, now our opponent's far ahead enough in the race that those numbers were just getting home to safety and winning that way anyway. So, like, what are we really giving up? We're not really worried about losing a gammon in this position so much. Nothing really changes on those. And if we go through, like, other 5-1 is the only number that can't get by, that contains a 5 or a 6, that could do something different now. But does our opponent even want to hit us on that 5-1? Are they doing better? They're, you know, if they roll the 5-1 otherwise, they're going to reduce to 11 shots, and we're going to have a weaker board to deal with it anyway. Now, the best they can do is probably hit and cover and leave a direct anyway, so we get as many shots either way. Like, I don't think we've lost anything on a 5-1. So it's hard to find the numbers now in a position like this, where our opponent's doing much better because we gave up these shots. 6-6 was going to be frozen, and now 6-6 actually makes a double shot. I forgot about this. So it continues, it comes down and hits, covers the 24, takes 2 checkers off, and now we get a double shot instead of 17. So we gain on that. 5-5 definitely is a bummer. Gets a little worse, but our opponent was going to get by and escape to a winning race anyway. So how much have we lost there too? Maybe nothing again. So yeah, the big feature in this position is that we focus in on the rolls we want our opponent to roll, and we're not actually giving up with 2 blots behind anything bigger when our opponent would have the option to hit. They don't want to hit. They just want to get by and win a race. And so it's not clear they'll take advantage of that anyway. So this one is almost pure upside to split 17 to 18. So yeah, going through the numbers and trying to think about what you want to happen, I think is the only way. And we have to notice the blots in board are going to keep them from hitting for the most part. That's not like the game plan that they want. And go through the tactics and see if we're going to gain or not. These, to me, are still the most difficult decisions in backgammon. I think a lot of players that are used to going through the numbers a lot maybe would find this relatively easily, because the comparison is somewhat more clear than it could be in other scenarios. But for me, I'm used to playing a very feel-based, strategic-oriented kind of game. And so when I have to step out of that and go through the numbers and convince myself, you know, exactly how it's going to play out and weigh all these rolls against each other, that can be a lot of math and calculation. But maybe in a position like this, now that we've seen the idea, we can at least get closer and think about it and see when it should be pretty clear, like a position like this where there's almost nothing but upside, you know? Maybe these can be easier to find, and maybe the 3-1's a little trickier. But these are important too, because the swing in equity is very large. And we saw that in the match where Ryan actually got into a tight PR race after missing these 2 plays when he had it all but locked up, and ended up playing a 1-game match in this too. Eventually he gets in a recube to 8 in an endgame race and plays it out that way. It's super exciting. So go watch that match and root for Ryan to head on to the contender tournament too. But yeah, this is a tough one. I hope you learned something from this. I'll be back with more position analysis in the near future. And thanks everybody for watching. I'll be back soon. Bye now.